Thank you for joining me for another episode of Think Your Way to an Epic Life. Today's guest is someone who is going to speak directly to the hearts of so many women who really feel like they've been living on mute. We have Dr. Rita Renee with us. She's a TEDx speaker, an author of more than 14 books. She's a global coach, a monthly TV contributor, and a woman who has turned her own trauma into a testimony that lifts everyone around her higher. So, our listeners really love practical steps. So, before we get into her personal story, we're going to start with some simple, actionable guides for any woman who's ready to find her voice, who's ready to stop hiding, and who's ready to lead with authenticity. Dr. Rita Renee, welcome to the show. We're so glad that you're here.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is my honor. It truly is. I enjoyed your TED Talk Beyond, and guys, go look up her TED Talk. We'll put a link to it here. So we're just going to dive right in. So, what's the first sign that a woman might be living on mute and she doesn't even realize it?
First sign is when you start comparing your voice to someone else's and you feel like that your opinion is not worth sharing.
Wow. I'm so sorry. I'm going totally off, but do you know Cesar Chavez? This is.
Yes.
Do you know the story about the woman that I got to tell you the story? You're going to love this. So Cesar Chavez was pretty famous for making sure that everyone had a voice, everyone could talk, and there were farmers and farm workers, not farmers, but farm workers, and they were being treated really horribly, and they needed to unify and they needed to get together. And so he's having this meeting, but they couldn't have meetings very well because they were being watched. And so
Mm.
they're having this meeting, and he says to everyone in the crowd, he says, "Does anyone have an idea that they have not told us yet?" And finally, this little old lady in the back kind of like puts her hand up, and he says, "What do you have?" And she says, "Well, why do you want to hear from me? He said, "Everyone has a voice." And her idea was, we all go to church because they won't bug us if we're going to church. And so they would have their meetings Sunday mornings, and they ended up being able to get together, and they used that little old woman's idea. And so what you're
Mm.
doing is you're trying to help everyone have a voice. So
Absolutely.
it's pretty amazing. So what's one simple step that a woman can take today to start using her voice like confidently?
Well, one of the things I often tell people that I work with is guard what shapes you. Like what you read, what you watch, what you listen to, who you follow, that can form a mindset. And we show this all the time, especially when we're around our kids. You wind up saying slang words that you never heard before. Those type of things can shape your mindset and shape your voice. And you want whatever comes out of your mouth and out of your voice and out of your whatever you're trying to ideas that you're trying to share, you want that to be authentic to you, not shaped by the culture or someone else. So stewarding what you allow yourself to absorb and be around is very important. It's very important to me.
Lee, protect your heart and your mind. Absolutely. It's beautiful. Okay, so how can a woman begin to? We know, I know that what shaped you is trauma, and we'll get into that a little bit later here. But how can a woman begin shifting her trauma from shame to a testimony?
Number one, know that you are not, it's not your fault. There's nothing that you can have done. And a lot of people will say, if I would have done this, if I would have done that. And I'll take my own self, for example, as a child, I was molested from the age of 5 to 10. It wasn't my fault. I was a child. I was just taken advantage of. And so know that that trauma wasn't necessarily your fault. However, you don't have to stay victim to your trauma. You can use that trauma as a testimony, not only for yourself so you can heal, but so others can heal as well. People need authentic people who will share their trauma so that they can have the courage to come out of their trauma as well and have a testimony of their own.
Wow, you are openly just saying like I worked at Zippy's for 10 years, for 5 years. You're just openly saying I was a child and I was molested, and you're able to just say it. How long did it take you to be able to do that?
And actually, when I remember, it's like it was yesterday. I had turned 19 By that time, I had already had my own daughter at the age, I was 16 when I first got pregnant. And I remember that this person was still coming around my family members, and people were trying to ask me questions. Why aren't you, engaging? Why aren't you coming over for these type of events? And that's when it just broke for me. And I wanted to save my daughter. I didn't want my daughter to go through what I went through. And it was not easy because at age 19, when I told my family, my mother believed me, my brothers believed me, but some close relatives like my grandmother, which was his son, and we were 7 years apart. And so we kind of grew up together. And they really didn't want to accept it because it was taught to us that we should sweep those things under the rug and not discuss them. And I decided I was no longer going to keep a bunch of stuff up under my rug. Because if you keep doing that, guess what? At some point, you're wind up losing. You can't even walk on the rug. You're unstable, right? And so I didn't want my life to be unstable like that again.
Man, that's a good analogy. And I have learned recently that if you don't release that past trauma, what happens, Doc? What happens if you don't release that past trauma?
So many things. You can actually lose your way by following down a wrong path. Sickness, unfocused, not following the journey that God has given you, um, bitterness, resentfulness, and you just squander your purpose on bitterness. There's so much more in life that you can be doing. And no, I'm not saying that we should ignore the fact that you were hurt. We should ignore your feelings. We should, sweep it. No, we should acknowledge them. And the more that you talk about it, the more that you become free. And the more that you become free and you start helping others become free too.
That's the thing. So many women, what you're doing is you're freeing not just them, but all the other women that have been through so many similar things, and they think they're the only ones. And they're
Hmm.
and how was that for you that there were family members that literally chose to believe you were making it up?
Yes. And that's exactly what happened. They thought I was making it up. That's because I found out that similar things had happened to them, and they just did not want to acknowledge the fact that those things. So when I opened the can of worms, I opened the can of worms not only for myself, but I opened a can of worms. I ripped the band-aid off of their pain, off of the things that they were masking, off of the things that they were trying to hide and not deal with.
Well, and I think probably a lot of them literally had buried it so deep that they didn't know it happened anymore.
Hmm. Well, we can do that to ourselves subconsciously, right? We can pretend that it never happened. It's so far back and removed from our minds and from our psyche, and that we just live this false life, this false reality. And but those things are going to come up, whether it's a similar trauma or some external trauma or internal trauma. Those hidden pains will rise up. And so the best way to deal with it is to be in a safe place where you can share those. And I'm thankful that my mom did believe me.
Well, absolutely. And I mean, what percent of 5-year-olds could even think to make something like that up?
Right.
I mean, come
Absolutely.
on. That's ridiculous. Okay, so what is one thing that women can do to lead more authentically in business, faith, or even just life?
And again, we already talked about filter the input, but to be authentic is to deal with your personal hurt and pain and not discard it as a mishap or something that or is normal. Go ahead and deal with it and don't be afraid to tell your truth. Because at the end of the day, you deserve to be whole and you deserve to be healed from those past hurts. You deserve to walk in freedom. And don't allow anyone to put you in a box based on your trauma. For instance, that's the person who was molested. That's the person that who failed. That's the person who was bankrupt. That's the person. Don't allow people to put you in those categories and those boxes. You are more than that. And use those opportunities to grow personally, spiritually, and also in relationships with others.
Okay, so what's a small step they're scared.
Hmm.
They're hearing this and they're like, oh God, if I was to open up that can of worms, what's one small courageous thing that they can do?
Me personally, I always start with prayer. And I always go to, if there's one person that you have to get it out. You can write, journal until you're able to vocalize it. I always say write, and then when you start writing it, you're able now to vocalize it. And once you're able to vocalize it, and you can vocalize it in your mind, then you can vocalize it in words and you can start talking to someone. But you have to address it and you have to deal with it.
That is brilliant advice. Ladies, if you're watching, and men, if you're watching and something like this has happened in your world, you can't make yourself say it. Write it down, and then burn it. Or do you keep that or what?
Oh, I always say I love to burn stuff. Let's burn it up. But again, give yourself grace because you may go back and think about it again. Give yourself grace when you feel like you may going to break down or it's going to cry, tear you up. Don't be so hard on yourself. It's not going to happen overnight, but you just take baby steps. And before you know it, now you're doing a workshop, you're on a podcast sharing those tips with other women and helping them as well.
Whew. Okay, ladies, if you're watching this, I want you to visualize yourself coming onto this podcast and being able to talk about it as calmly and healed. You are healed. Are you not healed? You've
Yes,
seen, oh my gosh. So there is hope. There is actual hope that you can fully heal from this and it doesn't have control over you anymore.
absolutely.
Does that sound good? That does
Sounds
that sound, and so okay, so what's a clear boundary every woman should set to reclaim her power?
I love the power of no. It's okay. No, I'm not able to do it. No, I don't have the capacity. No, I don't feel comfortable. No, that does not align with my values. That is a clear line. And I think a lot of us, because we want to be included, we have discarded the word no. The no is your new superpower. So from now on, whoever's listening, we have given you the power to say no because your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, that's important.
It is. And so when you're asked something, guys, do not answer immediately. Take a good deep breath in and say, I'll get back to you. If you don't know, Darren Hardy did this thing that I thought was brilliant. If I was to ask you, Dr. Rita, hey, do you want to come watch me wash my dishes? Or if I said, hey, Dr. Rita, I've got free tickets for you and your husband to join my husband and I in Hawaii, and it's all paid. If it's not a hell yes, the answer is no.
Absolutely.
Just no, I don't want to watch you come wash your dishes. That's ridiculous. So
Hmm.
how can women find like communities or people that would help them guide them through this because it's a big deal. I mean, you are strong and powerful and brilliant, and you've written all these books, and people are looking at you and they're like, oh my gosh, she's got a PhD for goodness sakes. How do I do it?
I didn't do it by myself. It started with my immediate family. Then also, I'm still in a corporate arena, so there's also resources in your corporate. If you still in corporate world, they have resources that you can talk with someone there. There's no shame if you need a therapist. If you need to talk to someone professional, there's no shame with that as well. If you belong to a ministry or church, an organization, they have resources there as well, but you have to talk to somebody to get it out. We're not built to be on a journey on by ourselves. We were created to be on a journey together. So there is someone out there, and if you have questions or you need help finding someone, I'm sure they can reach out to either one of us and we can help them get some resources.
Absolutely, guys. And that does bring up a good point. This podcast goes out to all the different places. However, if you go to YouTube, that's kind of where we focus this podcast. You can write comments and either Dr. Rita or myself can respond to you, and I'll let her know if there's
Absolutely.
any comments or anything like that. But guys, seriously, reach out. There are people who have been there, have done that, and they can, man, instead of you having to take the stairs all the way up to the very top of the world, you can get on the escalator and boom, you're there, right? And that's what having a
Hmm.
guide or a coach or a therapist or whatever it is you need. And either one of us would be happy to talk to you,
Absolutely.
literally happy to talk to you, to guide you and say, you know what, with this, maybe this would be a good step for you to take. So, practical tools, like what do you
Mhm.
give your clients to help them stay consistent and confident?
Well, practical mind renewal, begin each day with a scripture or prayer reflection. Again, we talked about the filtering, the daily inputs, audit the voices that influence you. Even when it comes to social media, make sure you're shaping your own thinking. Catch and correct. I love this one because it replaces negative thoughts with the truth. And then live on purpose. Define your epic values and your callings and your service. And don't compare yourself to anyone else's thoughts, their calling, or their values, or even their journey. You have a unique journey, you have purpose in life, and there's someone waiting to hear your story.
Someone that needs to hear your story. They feel so alone. They feel like they are
Hmm.
the only ones that have ever gone through anything like this and no one could possibly understand. And when you heal yourself, then you can help them. So let's say
Absolutely.
somebody who's listening right now says, okay, this is it. I'm done. I'm done having, I love the analogy of the carpet is where you can't even walk on it because you got it all stuffed down in there. And so in the next hour, I want to do one thing. What should they do?
I'm sorry. I don't start anything without prayer. Prayer, meditation, get your journal. Today is the day that you stop all negative thinking. You're going to tell yourself that you are here on purpose, and you're going to write down everything that you desire and want to do. And you're going to connect yourself around people, a circle of people that is going to galvanize around you, that's going to hold your arm, that's going to push you, that's going to challenge you, and you're not going to quit because we're not going to allow you to quit. So you're not going to sit there and you're not going to be hanging by a string by yourself. No, you have women, you have a circle, you have an audience, you have a group of people that here, whether it's virtually or near you, that want you to win. And I want you to win. So we're not going to quit. We're going to take one little step. We're going to keep focused. We're going to keep our tunnel vision on our purpose, and we're going to execute it because we're going to win this year.
Absolutely, guys. I love that. So, most people who do what we do have our own story. And that is what has caused us to be willing to do the inner work that 99% of people are not willing to do. You have lived this work. When did you first realize that you were living on mute?
Wow. When I felt like I had to compare myself to other people in order for them to accept me, I was that one friend that would purchase, buy, give money to just so I have people to hang around. That was me.
The people
And
pleaser.
I was a people pleaser. Yes, I wanted everybody to be happy, and I didn't want to make anybody mad, and I want everybody to like me, and I want to be included. And when I realized, and this sad, but it wasn't until my mid 40s that my mindset changed. And I said, I deserve to have a real friend. I deserve to be happy too. I deserve to be on the other end of receiving. And once that broke for me, then I began to feel so much better. And then I said, you know what? If I'm feeling like this, I'm sure other people feeling like this too. I want to help them.
Beautiful. What was the moment? What pushed you to finally speak up?
I think when I went through my divorce, I was in a bad marriage for 16 years. The first year, it was started with the first year. The very first year, I had bleach put in my contact solution. I had women calling me saying that they had deleted their unborn from my ex-husband, and I had them inboxing me. And I was like, this is not how life is supposed to be. And I didn't want to leave because I didn't want to fail. I didn't want to be seen as a failure. And I said, you know what? If I have to be homeless, then that's what I'm doing. So I just packed up all the things I could, and I slept in a sleeping bag in somebody's empty room in their house in Georgia. I didn't even know this family. They allowed me to stay there until I was able to get back on my feet. And I said, you know what? This is the one good thing about this. I'll have a testimony to share with other people that you don't have to stay in it. And life, I mean, I'm not going to have my best life until I get to heaven, but my life here, it has been better, and I'm so grateful for the life I have now.
Ooh, no doubt. So, guys, I want you to get excited about this because you're watching a woman who has turned her trauma into a testimony. That's that's amazing. So, was there a point when your ex-husband like crossed a line that he hadn't crossed before that made you go, "That's it. I'm down. I'm out. I don't care where. I don't care what happens."
That point was when I was out doing yard work. We had a beautiful home. And I was doing landscape and I kept seeing all these cars going by my house. And I'm like, that's weird. Like, I know the yard looks nice because I put a lot of heart in it, but they shouldn't be like cruising by looking like that. Something inside of me said, go look at foreclosures. Go look at foreclosures in your area. And I saw my house listed in foreclosure.
Oh,
That's how I found out. I said, this is the last straw. This is like the last straw because I knew nothing. I knew nothing. And so that's how it happened. And it's in one of my books.
wow, that's incredible. Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. A totally different subject, but not really. Your TED Talk. Wow. I
Thank
mean,
you.
bold girl. That was so incredibly bold and like what talk to me. What gave you the courage to do that?
So, the past couple of years, especially, around that dreaded time a couple of years ago, a lot of people don't want to talk about. Um, I just saw a culture where everything that was said and done ushered people into this mindset of victimhood. And I never grew up that way. My grandparents had a sixth grade and fourth grade education. They worked on a farm. The first house they had, and the only house they had, was a two-story house that the farm owner gave them, moved it to a piece of land. Didn't have running water then or a toilet. We had outhouses then, but they never complained. And so I wanted to share about my growing up and how I view life in the lens of, even in the being in the South as a Black woman, I didn't see racism the way other people saw racism. We were taught that people had heart issues, right? They had character flaws. We didn't look at people as Black and white or whatever. It was about the heart of the person, and everything was related to our beliefs because we were all grew up in church families. So that's what gave me the idea to do the TED Talk. I wanted to talk about more about belonging and not check boxing. And people's trauma doesn't owe them a seat at the table. It's just a testimony.
Ooh. When it, I'm not going to give it all away because I seriously, guys, it's going to be linked down here. You got to go check it out. But when you walked out and said, "I'm your captain speaking," whoo! I mean, like, hello, hello, this is messed up, and the intent was really, really good, but
Thank you.
it got messed up along the way. And thank you for bringing light to that. It is something that, ladies and gentlemen, you do not want to miss. You need to go read that. Okay, so you've written 14 over 14 books, 14 or four, over 14.
Collectively with my anthologies with our co-authoring books. Yep.
Okay. So which one would you say reflects the biggest personal breakthrough for you?
The first one. It's the Stay in the Ring, Knocked Down but Not Knocked Out. That book right there was a book that helped me get my voice back. And sometimes I get a little bit emotional about it because it freed me. I was no longer bound by my past, my hurts, my disappointments, being judged by other people. It was the breakthrough book for me.
Beautiful. Your first one too. How cool is that? And I'm sure that's what inspired you to keep writing, right? You do
Yeah, I was
something
like, this
well,
is
it's
cool.
like,
I'm feeling free. I'm like,
let's go. Let's go. Okay. Dr. Rita, and I calling you Dr. Rita, it's
you can
Dr.
call
Rita
me Rita. We're
Renee.
friends.
But one of my best friends is Dr. Rita. She's my naturopath, and I still call her Dr. Rita to this day. She's like, you can
Nice.
call me Rita, and it's like, yeah, but it's a respect thing.
I appreciate it. Oh,
I definitely have. I have more respect for you now than I did when we started, and I already had a ton going into this after watching your TED talk. So,
thank
what
you.
have I not asked you that I should have asked you?
Really covered everything. But what's next? Probably, and next year, whenever this comes out, soon you'll see a new book, and it's going to be called The Black Elephant. It is the voices of the Black conservatives. So it's going to be an anthropology, and I'm so excited about that anthropology coming out.
I
Anthology
cannot
coming out.
wait
I keep
to
calling it
read
some anthology.
that is beautiful because you do on social media you see black Republicans that are coming out and they're saying
Hmm.
stuff and they're just getting attacked so much for it from the black community. How do you feel
Hmm.
about that?
It's sad. And it's like, when you see somebody and say, I just want you to wake up, and you're like, I'm just trying to show you. I just want you to wake up. Um, but the work continues to go, and more people are waking up and they're seeing. So I don't think anything that we're doing is in vain. And those will see, right? And we just continue to handle them with love and grace.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. That Martin Luther King Jr. right there. Like, no, let's just do this the right way. So, Dr. Rita Renee, thank you for such a powerful conversation. I seriously,
Oh,
I know our listeners don't only just feel inspired, right? But they feel equipped. So you've shown them how to step off of mute, how to claim their voice, how to lead with authenticity in every part of their lives. And so, for any of you who want to go deeper, you can find Dr. Rita Renee on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all over the place. We've got all of her links below. Please, guys, take advantage. She has so much wisdom and she's willing, ready, and able to share it in a way that you will be able to receive it incredibly well. Please remember, if you like this, if it meant something to you, share it, subscribe, share it with somebody else who you think might really like hearing what Dr. Rita has to say. Dr. Rita, thank you so much for your time and your wisdom.
my pleasure. Thank you.